funny enough, I actually took notes, or I actually practiced a little bit. Usually I do not practice, but for this one I practiced. And I think it plays into what Caroline just said. I'm interested in making things, and not just any sort of things, but usually things that have to do with technology. Because I believe what we do has a lot, or the tools that we use, or let me put it this way, I just had a beer, and that's my liquid courage, and now I'm forgetting things. The tools we use tools to see how we see our world. So if everything looks like a hammer, or everything becomes a nail, right? So right now, if you think about the past, being the bone, this is from 2001, A Space Odyssey, and the future is a spaceship. And you know, in 2001, they had, on the spaceship, they had a sentient being called Hal. Right now, we're somewhere in the middle. We don't have Hal, but we have Siri. And I think the problem right now is the smartphone is becoming our hammer. It's the modern day hammer. Everything is starting to look a little bit like a nail through our cell phone, or the smartphone, or the Android, or whatever it might be. And that means even if you can't see it, it's a double rainbow above Berlin. We're occupied with what's happening on the screen. And I think that's a problem because it's actually a battle for our attention. Exactly as Caroline said, you guys are either watching me, or you're looking at your cell phone, or you're thinking about the beer. This is a picture of a modern day college in the U.S. Hard to see, but there's two girls here, and they are all occupied by everything except themselves. And there's this lady she called Linda Stone. She came up with this idea of continuous partial attention. So I wanted to get away, in 2001 I was living in New York, I wanted to get away from the screen, and what that actually means is I wanted to see if there's other things besides the screen that can occupy our time. So I moved to Piedmont, this is in Italy, and I studied interaction design. And it was quite cozy. It was kind of like Battle Royale, the Japanese one, where there were a lot of people, and it was kind of like everyone's hooking up with everyone, but I was there with my wife, so it was all good. And a friend of mine, Casey Rios, was a professor there. He came up with processing. He studied at the Media Lab. And I met another guy named Massimo Banti. He was an engineer, electro engineer. He came up with Arduino. And we just built things, you know, and I think things like this. This is a thing I built with my wife. Hard to see as well, but it's a rain jacket for kids. And what happens is, when you raise your arms, it plays the piano. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. So we just kind of played with things, trying to new things out. And I think that's what's interesting is when you try things, then you kind of come upon different ideas. And I think we forget that sometimes when we stare into our computers. It's all about designing the right thing, but designing the thing right as well. It's about getting away from the screen and seeing what's out in the environment and what exactly we're doing. Because as designers, or as people making things, we think we're in the business of creating artifacts, but in reality, we're in the business of creating consequences. Everything we design is going to land in a junk fill, and that's something we have to think about. All of a sudden, we're going to have just a bunch of junk, and you have to sell it somewhere. So this whole premise is, I make, therefore I am. This is from Barbara Kruger, stolen from Barbara Kruger. I shop, therefore I am. I believe shopping is about answers. I think making is about asking questions, and I think we need to question more, just like kids question everything. The creative adult is the child that survives. It is the one that got away from bad advice from teacher. It's the one that actually figures out, okay, it's not just about the grades, it's just about doing things. And I think that's true as well. I think creative adults are where it's happening right now. And I think that's something we have to think about. We have to not look at technology, but we have to look at what kids are doing and how they are interacting in their world today. Because technology comes and goes, but behaviors stay. And for a lot of people, it's about hacking things. And maybe it's not about hacking things, but hopefully we're getting away from what Foxconn and Apple are doing and actually trying to think of things that are answers or solutions or questions are solved. It's something we have to do on a daily basis, because when we become too romanticized by what's in front of us, we forget exactly what it means to take something apart and answer new questions. This is a robot we bought at the flea market, and we took apart and we just, see how it is. And you can rehack things and redo things. It's like software. You think about software and matching things up. So in the end, what we did is, with a few friends, I created this platform called Makers & Co. And it's about sharing things, it's about learning, and it's about making things. And I kind of think of it like a sexy Instructables or a dribble for makers. Because makers are not always the sexiest, or they're not always the best at promoting things. And in the end, it's really just about doing things. And the more you do, the more you actually get out of things. So here's something we did. We carved pumpkins, which is quite... it's not very normal in Germany, but in the US you carve pumpkins for Halloween. And you share it and you do things. So my whole premise is, let's make some shit and make some things happen. Thanks.